past few years, the Queens campus has been the center of your world. But now you're ready to conquer the world. There's just a few things you should know.
This trip will change your life, and it will be something that you can cherish forever.
Well, it's true. At Queens, we actually believe that understanding the world is a critical part of your education, of your discovering who you really are. That's why our John Belk International program makes sure that 90% of our traditional undergrads get the chance to study abroad. Now it's your chance. We wish you happy and safe travels.
We are trying to prepare them for noble lives. That's one of our goals here at Queens. And I think experience in other cultures definitely broadens their experience.
Queens is very excited to have one of the best international programs in the country. But we have to ensure that you're safe and healthy while you're abroad. It's my responsibility to get you all of the information you need for your trip abroad, but it's your responsibility to make good choices and to be prepared. We've given you information specific to your trip, everything from cultural information sheets to CDC and State Department information.
I went to Paris and London.
William Lord is a marketing senior. He had the time of his life on his JBIP trip.
Best part of the trip was when our advisors just turned us loose.
Senior Michael Fleming
I think one of the most memorable days was going to Pompeii.
visited Italy, so we asked them and others for some advice to make sure you make the most of your trip.
To keep your mind open to new experiences and really just to have fun.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But first, what you need to know before you go.
I really suggest researching ahead of time and looking at the countries that you're interested in and the background and the culture, and just getting to familiarize yourself with a lot of the events and beliefs and ideas.
But you always want to have a very good guide. Wherever you're going to go, if you have a good guide, it can show you the sites you want to see. So if you're interested in art, you might be able to go to a Picasso museum. If you're interested in bullfighting and you're in Sevilla, you can go to bullfight. So have a good guide with you.
While you're checking up on your country, check in with the Health and Wellness Center on campus.
I will review their individual record and see what they have so that I can make recommendations about what they need. And we can actually provide those immunizations or prophylaxis here through the health center.
They'll also provide counseling about any medical issues you may have and help with prescriptions. If you're on regular medicine, make sure you bring enough for your whole time abroad and have original copies for your prescription.
It should be a wonderful adventure. What I tell them is you want to remember the trip for the experiences you have and not for the illness that you develop there.
That may also mean talking through any mental health issues. Homesickness, jet lag, loneliness can all be a part of travel.
I think, especially from a student perspective, it can be stressful to try to figure out where you're going. It can be stressful trying to maybe read a map, figure out the metro system or the bus system to get to somewhere. It can be stressful trying to order food in a language that's not native to you. But, you know, it can also be a fun adventure.
Before heading off on your adventure, check in with your cell phone and credit card companies.
For my cell phone, I have AT&T, and I went to the store and I asked to put on international roaming, and they put on international roaming for the month, and I got to call home.
Oh yeah, I had to be sure to call T-Mobile and to let them know that I was leaving out of the country and be able to make those, to make the arrangements so that I would be able to use my phone.
I went to my bank and I gave them my list of places I was going, and they marked it down, and they were aware that I was traveling.
And it's a good idea to have a backup credit card with you just in case. Also, keep backup copies of your passport with you and leave one at home.
So I always keep a passport sort of agenda book, and it has my money and my passport, but I make copies. I have a passport copy, or a copy of my passport rather, in almost every pocket. So I've got one in my book bag, I have one in my actual pack, I keep one even stateside in case I need to call back home and have someone fax that to me. That's just sort of smart traveling.
More smart traveling?
Pack light. Students that come with 2 big suitcases full of stuff, you got to carry them up and down escalators, on and off metros. It's really a pain.
We want you to avoid another kind of pain, the kind that comes after eating the wrong foods or even just drinking the water in some places, especially developing countries.
It's always a good idea not to eat raw fruits and vegetables that say are not peeled, and to be careful with the water. It may not even be that the water is infected, but that our GI tracts aren't used to whatever their water is, so they are often more likely to develop diarrhea.
Every traveler's nightmare, Montezuma's Revenge.
I have never heard of that.
Well, Montezuma's Revenge, although knock on wood, I've never had it.
I'm not sure. No. Is it? Not really sure what it is. No.
I'm sorry. I have no clue as to what Montezuma's mean.
Yeah, I've heard of that before, but I didn't know that was the name of it.
There are microorganisms in the water that our bodies are not used to, and sometimes you can have, you don't think about it, you get a Coke, but it has ice, and that ice came from not a filtered water source, and so you get sick, and it's not fun. You're sort of praying to the porcelain gods, I guess, after that. So you should definitely be careful depending on the region of the world that you're going to.
But another professor points out, not too careful that you miss the local experience.
I tend to like to eat the local food. So last summer in Peru, we all ate guinea pig because they ate guinea pig in Peru. Tastes like chicken.
But that may not be your thing, so always have your thing on hand.
Power bars, granola bars, because they're often traveling and are on a bus for long periods of time too. Maybe if they miss breakfast, which often they're running late, trying to get on the bus, to have snacks like that is a really good idea.
Another good idea, Queens Campus Police Chief Johnny Ravenel says don't get for a pickpocket.
Make yourself a part of the community that you are in. And by making yourself a part of it, what I mean by that is, don't be so obvious that you are an American. Let's leave the Panthers, the Washington Redskins, the Dallas Cowboy gobs back at home.
And he says always travel in groups, especially women. Women need to remember that not all cultures around the world view women as Americans do. Respect local customs and be aware of cultural differences.
But the buddy system is absolutely necessary. I don't care, girl or guy. You are navigating a foreign country, and it is difficult, even if you do know the language. We're not familiar with the road systems. We're not familiar with transportation. So it is imperative that you always bring somebody along with you. There's safety in numbers, and we don't mean that as sort of a threat.
Let some of your other members, traveling members, know what your itinerary is prior to taking off on your own. That way, someone could follow up and say, well, they were going to be here.
Also, when you're drinking, you don't have you're a little more impaired. So imagine trying to find your way back to a hotel when you're buzzed. You don't know the street names. You can't read the map. You can't speak to someone in their language. All of a sudden, it's much more than just I got drunk kind of thing. It becomes a real liability.
Make sure you don't become a liability while abroad.
And also remember, you are a guest in somebody's country. And you should act as though you were a guest. Treat the hotel room as though you are a guest. Treat the restaurants as though you were a guest. And treat the people the same way.
Because
what happens abroad doesn't always stay abroad.
Be sure to have fun. You're going to be going and seeing some things that you never thought you would see before. However, it's not true that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Sometimes what happens in another country can affect your life here in America. So be smart, make the right decisions, but have a good time.
What happens abroad does not always stay abroad. Those things that you're involved in could follow you right back here to the States and have an impact on your future.
I just want to remind you that what happens abroad doesn't. I just want to remind you what happens abroad doesn't always stay abroad.
And remember, what happens abroad does not stay abroad. It's going to be a great time they're going to have. I've never been on one of these trips that everybody hasn't come back going, best experience of my life.